Good morning. Good morning. Now, who is this a good morning to? Is this a good morning to the one true creator out there? Shout out to you. Shout out to you. The one true creator out there, in my eyes, in my heart, is a heart-centric person. I think of my own life, and I think of the sort of play, the sort of dance, the sort of relationship dynamics, the sort of inner sort of Taoist transition between what is going on in my mind, what's going on in my heart. Oftentimes, my heart is a very introverted, kind of gentle, loving entity in my eyes. The way that my heart goes about loving, it says, you know what? I'm going to perform acts of service. I'm going to better the environment. You know, how can I love? Maybe I could just make things really beautiful when people walk by here. There's not trash on the ground. You know, I'm in a fork in the road. Do I go further down the root of the heart and the sort of ailments and my personal sort of obstacles with my own experience with the heart? Or do I go into the aspects of the mind? I think I'm going to go into the heart. You see, I don't think this is a problem in my life, but I do recognize that it isolates me. Or it very well can. You see, when I see somebody walking down the street, I go blind. All right, I go blind. Blind. Especially if I'm operating from some sort of mental construct. A sort of idealistic image of what it's like to be a human being. Oh, I'm a human being, there's another human being. Yeah, well, because they're here, I'm here, we gotta interact, right? Yeah. Well, more and more do I feel less inclined to do things in all the ways that I have grown up being influenced and taught, how things should be done, and reevaluating what normal is. There's this term that went around back when COVID-19 was fresh. They'd say, oh, we're getting used to a new normal. A lot of my time recently has been just holding my finger over my mouth when it comes to my mind. I recognize that anytime my mind gets involved with things too much, nothing ever goes in the sort of way that I like it. Life doesn't even take on the kind of present moment of experience of something great. And it feels like some sort of mirage you'd see in the desert, even. Because the mind's whole ordeal is like, it's predicated on, hey, look, just believe this. And if you believe this, then, I've got my foot in the door, and all of a sudden, here, we're going to take this sort of route, we're going to take this sort of path, and then at some point in the future, you're going to thank me, and it's going to be great. Trying to think our way to greatness. I'd rather Stevie Wonder my way to greatness, if I do say so myself. Feel it out, because isn't she lovely? Dude, she's the most lovely entity on the planet Earth. When I originally pressed record to make this talk, I was like, in my mind, I was addressing something or someone or popping open for something. The reason I don't fuck with the mind all that much is because the mind traps you. The mind restricts you into being a certain kind of person, and what ends up happening is it gets rigid, it gets brittle, and it starts cracking really fast. Because depending on your tolerance, your endurance level, your stamina, the kind of pain, what you can withstand. They say, just have discipline. Discipline is freedom. Consistency is key. No. The symbol of a smart person is having the ability to make decisions on the fly, to be able to feel out when something is going wrong, and to navigate accordingly. It's not enough just to check your compass one time and say, yep, we were heading west before. We were heading west 18 hours ago, so we must be still. What does it take? What does it really take for you to check in? And why is it so difficult? How is it so difficult for us to even feel out what we really feel like? And another question is, why do we go against what we feel? Why do we go further down into life paths. Look, you know what I'm doing here? This is the heart talking to the mind right now. Saying, hey, change your ways. You're unhappy. And you know why I hate this? I hate this because it sucks, dude. It sucks. I don't like what happens when I think too much. I just don't like the kind of person I become. You know, living my life trying to control everything, trying to stay on top of everything, trying to manage this and delegate that, and did I do this? And it's always just constantly thinking back, looking at life through this sort of agenda that I'm checking in. Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I tie my shoelaces? Did I make sure I'm tapping my pockets? Do I have all the things that I need? Do I have the extra emergency kit? This and all for this and that. Next thing I know, it's like my whole entire life I just become an assistant to somebody else. Like, I become an assistant to whoever the fuck is, the master of my life. And it's not even like I'm serving God. It's not even like I'm serving, some higher purpose. I'm serving, some kind of plan that's saying, if we follow this plan, then we're going to be living the good life. And just keep following the plan. And it's like, at what point do I stop living that life? At what point does the life actually change from all of those sort of processes that get you there to actually fucking living it? Because it's clear as day for me in this moment in time to be able to look and see, because this is a past behavior of mine, and who knows where I am along the journey, truly, to say if this is behind me forever or if this is just a simple phase in a segment, because life changes a lot. And I don't ask consistency of myself, but I do ask for authenticity and to pull out from the depths of my soul what is the most real thing that is there. Sometimes. Other times, I feel, sometimes I'm just about the play. I'm about the enjoyment. I'm not all about break through the mold, crush the roles. Sometimes the roles that you can find yourself in are pretty fun. And so maybe I live closer to the motto, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay? But I think what I have operated under in for a long time, and it's sinister, because you think to yourself that it does work, because you have hope. You hope that you place everything in the future of things. If I stay on top of myself and I write down my to-do list, and then I check my to-do list off, and then I just do that day in and day out, and I journal, I document my sort of experiences, and it's like, and it's all of this sort of thing. It's, what is it really? Is it that I, in this moment in time, have a distaste, a disdain for that lifestyle, a past chapter of mine, and I'm projecting this sort of image out there into the world to say, fuck that life? And is this to, if the shoe fits, if someone hears this and the shoe fits, is this to, whoa, make them insecure, or is it to, ruffle their feathers to the point where they're like, oh, shit, I'm doing that? And make them feel insecure, and then I don't know. What I do have a feeling about, though, is that this is that grandfather it's like the grandfather thing. The time paradox. If we had a time machine, if I use the time machine to go kill my grandfather, then I'm an asshole. It's not that, yeah, I'm sorry. It's not that, it's not that I would never be born, you know, if I go back and kill him, or I stop him from kissing my grandma first time. No, it's like I'm a sociopath. I'm a psychopath. Why would I go back and kill my grandfather? It's ludicrous. I'm just joshing. But it does make me think, you know, the grandfather paradox. If I have this sort of, I can't change, I don't necessarily think that me talking about any of this would even change anything. But alas, you know, I don't know shit. What I do know is everything, even the smallest, most insignificant things, do have some sort of impact on every single one of us. So oftentimes I could be numb to it, and it just takes another observer. Oftentimes, you know, and that's kind of what we are to each other. Like, you know, when we spend a lot of time together and we connect, really, that's when we're living the good life. But when we're spending time alone, dude, I don't know what it is, man. You know what? This is what it is. I'm speaking to young men in particular who are hyper ambitious and view themselves as hyper independent, and that they're on the come up and they have to make it because it's do or die. And so they're on their grind, and they feel as though they can't rely on anybody. They don't want to be dependent on anybody anymore. And so what they do is they just grind their ass off. They adopt a sort of tyrant of the mind, and they think to themselves, if I follow all of these rules of the tyrant of the mind and become extremely angular in my ways, if I become broad and angular and sharp and dense and massive and disciplined and directioned, then fucking I'm gonna conquer the goddamn world Genghis Khan style. I want it enough. If I just get mad enough, if I get angry and passionate enough, guess what? I'm about to bring into fruition the life that I want. This is how people did it. This is how people achieve their goddamn dreams. I see it! You know, and so what they'll do is they'll isolate. They'll think that, all these heathens out here. I'm about to crowd surf. I'm about to jump on heads and walk across. Jesus walked on water. I walked across everybody else. I made it to where I wanted to go. It's like, eventually what you come to recognize is like you stomp on the heads. You cross, you're standing on the shoulders of giants. You're walking across. Maybe you make it to the stage. Maybe you make it to the out of the fucking festival. What really ends up happening is klesha. Okay? Klesha. The clinging of the mind. To recognize desire. Desire is a funny one that we'll all go through. Every single human being will go through a sort of desire. We'll have something that we want, and so we'll do what we can to bring about this sort of thing. It's like an itch. It's an itch. Having a desire is like having an itch. Or maybe I don't even know. Is it like an itch? Probably partly like an itch. There is I've been in the sort of desire trap where it's like you just what happens is you just constantly want things. The second you get whatever it is that you wanted before, it's never enough. You're no longer finally just settled in that. And it's, what ended up happening in my experience is like you just want and you want and you want, and your whole life is just next one, just yes, I want this. Got it. What do I want? Wow, what do I? Oh man! And then you're like you're there in the sort of bed that you made, right? You're sort of there in the pit of despair or the emptiness or the boredom, and you think to yourself, fuck, what should I do? What should I do? And so what you end up thinking of doing is just getting more things, just thinking of all the things that you don't have. Oh man, the materialism, some kind of status, some kind of title, accolade. And you end up being in this sort of, dude, and some games of desire last a lot longer than others, right? Some are easy. Some, you go to Whole Foods to get yourself a cinnamon roll. You eat the cinnamon roll, wow, that was great. Then the next day you have to deal with that sort of craving. Oh, dude, I want a cinnamon roll. It's like, how many cinnamon rolls is enough? Others are a little longer. It's you spend 40 years getting to some sort of position or chasing something. And then when you finally pass that threshold or whatever, or maybe you just get sick of it, you're like, damn. Oh, fuck. That wasn't it? Dude, I thought that if I fucking got it, that this would be it. And so I'm coming here, boop, popping the bubble and just saying, yo, everybody, operate from where you are at. It would be my sort of message to the world. Operate from where you're at. Operate from what you are. This is what source is to me. This is what being grounded is to me. It's you operate from what you are in the moment. You don't operate from what you want to be. Because if you operate from this perspective of chasing, if you operate from the perspective of
it's in there. Can you see it? It's visible.
being blocked by this right here.
The door.
I have no qualms about taking tentative steps outward. Taking tentative steps out of myself, not knowing where we're going to go, where we're going to land, and just sort of working off vague signs in my imagination of what I would like to talk about and where I would go in the conversation. Because a lot of us don't put out things because we're encased inside of our minds. Other times, we're swamped with a tornado of feelings and only silence and time might be the remedy to our ailment. I get into the thick of it. I talk about, I'm coming from a place where I'm like, dude, I want to operate from a loving place as much as I possibly can, And loving doesn't always look like joy and a playful nature pouring out of your essence at every moment in time. You don't end up looking like that skipping child on the playground with a striped t-shirt and a little rinky-dink hat with some kind of propeller on the top of it you could spin. He's got candy and chocolates. Oh, boy. Love to me isn't that specifically. Like, love to me is intimacy with the world in all aspects of it. Honesty. Something that is... Love to me is whatever is the most true. Dude, honesty, truth is what love is to me. In the same way that carbs are sugar if they're processed through your body. There's been something I've been experimenting a little bit with my life. I'll tell it to you as I experience it. Why not? Your truth is your truth. And that's the only place you can operate from, a place of knowing anything at all. Sure. Here is the perspective. The perspective is that we are an instrument that has a whole bunch of notes. And some of the notes, they're fucking... And in this instant, like, all of the notes think that they are right. That they are the right notes. And that all of the notes, every single note is correct. Every single note goes into your ear just like it should. Now, whether or not you like the symphony that's played, well, that's a product of the mind, which is something that I wanted to get into because, yeah. Look, when my heart doesn't like something, it doesn't attach itself to that. It just simply doesn't like something, but it still likes the process of explaining and expressing itself that it doesn't like something. It has no qualms. It has no qualms about the product or service. You know, it's in the present moment, just like, okay, I guess we're going about things like this now. Okay. But the mind, dude, the mind is my enemy. The mind is my enemy. And I like to sever the connection between what I am and my brainstem immediately. Because my brain is always doing some kind of like HR, PC type of thing. Like, it's always worrying about the next thing. It's always worrying about, well, how are people going to think of you? How are people going to see you? Oh, what's this going to say about you? What is it? It's like always like, it's always plotting on the apocalyptic future event. And it's never not doing that. It's like, I've noticed the mind is not helpful, bro. I want to go and say, yeah, the mind is helpful, the mind's good. But in my personal reality, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head. It's something that I would have to think about. It's something that I'd have to go into my mind to pull out why the mind is good. It's not something that I could say from my soul and my spirit that I fuck with the mind. I don't fuck with the mind. Not the way that... Because the mind wants to feel life. But the mind wants to feel life through a condom. It wants to feel life through safety nets. It wants to feel life through... Y'all remember Freddie's mom from iCarly? Try feeling life through that. Neurotic. Panicky. Wee-woo. Wee-woo. What's he doing? He's standing there. Menacingly. Oh, the horrors. Now, do I hate the mind? I feel bad for it. I feel bad for it. Tell me why it feels like it doesn't even... Tell me why it doesn't feel like the mind even appreciates itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've noticed that, like, either the mind is a downer, and it's like Eeyore, or it's worried about the future or some shit, or it's planning for something, or... or it's spending its time trying to be something that it's not. Chess moves. Always, I think, oh God, here's what it is, my friends. The mind wants to play... Dude, oh my God. Oh my God. Kendrick Lamar hit it on the head. He said, the heart plays in ways the mind can't figure out. Heart plays in ways the mind can't figure out. Because the heart is playing ninja chess. The mind is playing regular chess. And it's thinking 18 moves down. And then the heart's like, well, fuck you. I'll just move all these pieces. And now you don't even know what the hell's going on anymore. Not even maliciously. Just because the mind, you know what it does? It's like a wet blanket. You know, once it wraps onto something, it's like an octopus with suction cups. The mind wants to wrap itself around something to feel it out, and then it's like the heart just wants that. The heart wants that freedom, dude. It doesn't want that sort of restriction on it. It doesn't want to be held in that kind of way. This is just how I see it, okay? I don't know if anybody else feels the same. And even if they did, I'm not even sure how that would affect my experience. Right? You know, if somebody agrees with me, then, you know, I guess we're in agreement, right? Then I'm not alone or something like that. But if I'm disagreed with, you know, it still doesn't necessarily matter because, you know, now we're just sort of arguing about the semantics about something that I'm not really invested in. Like, I'm not all too crazy about just one specific plot point. I'm like, yo, how about we just get this all out there and then do some refinement later. This one I don't like this one so much. I don't like this one so much because, well, you know what? Maybe I do. Maybe I actually do. I'll keep it real with y'all. Kanye West hit it best. He said, the most beautiful thoughts are oftentimes besides the darkest. The most beautiful thoughts are oftentimes besides the darkest. And so, this thing that I don't necessarily like about myself because it doesn't paint me in a beautiful light, it does simultaneously just because it's something that is to be revealed. And I'm like an archaeological digger out here. I'm like, yo, let's uncover these freaking wounds. Let's go in. I'm a scab picker. I'll eat food off the floor. Boogers? No question. Bring them in. Bring them in. Bring them in. I just had to do a 15-second self-ban right there. The mind all the time thinks about, what do other people think of me? Here are a list of reasons why we shouldn't be putting ourselves out there like this, like why we shouldn't express ourselves in whatever ways. And you know what? It's because of the internet. And it's also because of the sort of safety features of the internet, The aspects of the internet is that we can just sit in our rooms all the time have the most heinous, vile sort of thoughts about other people and whatnot. And we'll be completely vile, just wrathful, spewing hatred upon everybody, and judgment. And meanwhile, we will allow this because we're not face to face or actually in person with anybody. And so, dude, the internet fucked us all up real bad because we could just sit inside four walls and just be the shittiest sort of versions of ourselves, and we think that it's not even real for some reason. We'll look at our phones and just start feeling hate out of nowhere, right? Don't you think that's a little psychotic? Some noises or some pixels, some freaking colorized light pixels will flash and they'll make you feel judgment of another person, rage, hate, whatever sort of feelings that they do. And I'm over here, I'm thinking to myself, this is all this all happened because I let it happen. It's our responsibilities to parent our own thoughts, to parent our own minds, everybody. If you are going down maybe it's better to have nothing as opposed to having something that's bad. Having something ain't everything. Sometimes having something is what limits you and it restricts you, because now you have to take care of this thing. And in this case, in my scenario, I was talking about, I was referring to items you keep in your pocket, as opposed to a child. You know what the mind does? The mind says, oh, empty space. What should we do? Where should we go? Where should we arrive at? It works backwards. Where should we arrive at? The spirit, the spirited man, the soulful person. They say, who gives a fuck where we arrive at? How about we just pop out? See where it goes. So this has been a little thing about the heart and the mind. Okay, now bigger picture. What the is this perspective, dude? It's like a bashing of the mind, right? It's the heart versus the mind in this instant, and it's my passion, it's my hatred, it's my yo, wake up, stop. This is some kind of civil war right here. This is the South, this is the South versus the North right here. Come on, boys. We're gonna fight them. We're gonna free the slaves. Hey, I think that no matter what we're dealing with, we always come back into the sort of oneness of everything. Like, if I'm you know, if in this moment I'm attaching myself to spirit and heart, and I'm coming from the heart, I'm not coming from the mind, and I'm looking at the mind and I'm projecting all of my hatred towards its philosophy and approach of life to fit something that's more me, more loose, more of a seeker of homeostasis, feeling, connection. I find myself, you know what I do? I find myself being wrong every single time, pretty much. Like, and what I come to notice about being wrong time and time again is that it's not even about being wrong. You're right for the moment. You're right for when you are, you're right for exactly where you're at. Everything happens when it's supposed to happen. We're constantly sort of coming into new levels of awareness. When you're in a little room, when you're in a very cramped room, it's very easy to sort of tell if there's a fly floating around in that room. But if we're outside in the vastness of life, hearing one fly in your surroundings is a lot more difficult. It depends, it all depends on the sort of levels at which our aperture, our pinhole cameras are open to. What are we honing in on? What are we applying our focus to? What do we want to sense? What are we looking to sense? If I go out there and I say, find the color brown, boom, instantaneously. Now your mind's picking up on everything that's brown. It just starts noticing. And the same goes for happiness, joy. People who are proud of you. Love. If you shift your mind, you shift your focus, to pick up on these kind of senses, you'll start noticing the world will look at you differently, all the same. The things that you look at take on a different appearance, is what I'm saying. The observer effect is all too real. I'm of the nature that how you observe anything plays a significant role as to the sort of relationship you will have with whatever. Part 2. All right, so this is the segment from going from outdoor thoughts to indoor thoughts. Indoor thoughts. Much colder. More sinister. All too real. Higher stakes. The heat is on. The pressure is on. You know, and this all has to do with me just being addicted to doing things. Always wanting to change things. And you know what? You know, at its core, it's some kind of battle between doing these things that I feel like I want to do, some kind of like comfort-seeking behavior, and resisting everything. Resisting. You know what I'm saying? I want to get back on here, and I want to clear the record. Earlier I spoke about, you know, the heart versus the mind, and really just coming from personifying myself and sort of adopting the role of being the heart as opposed to being the mind. And what I recognize definitely is that your environment will heavily impact, you know, who you feel like you can be, or like what you might even feel like you are. So it's like I like this analogy of life being this huge ass elephant, and we're all just these little tiny people just kind of like touching the elephant. We're blind, we're just touching the elephant. We're like, oh dude, this is what it is. Oh, here we go. This is what it's like. And then just sort of like, some of us are bickering over like, yeah, that's not what it is. And then other of us are like, dude, this thing's huge. What the hell? Damn. You're telling me I could look anywhere? You're telling me it's everywhere? No, it's only in the texture. It's only in the textures. You're not gonna find it anywhere. You're not gonna find it anywhere where signs can be read. Those lead you the wrong way. That's like if you fired an arrow at somebody, and then it's like, where do they go? That way. You know? so about what we want, right? You know? Pertaining to what we want, dude. That's tough. You know, things are, whatever's happening here is going to be sacrificed as a result of trying to do anything else. You know, we're not great multitaskers. And so, to the degree that we want to juggle more shit in our lives, everything else is just going to get worse as a result. But maybe that's not the case, right? I could just totally be projecting. You know, I could just be talking about how I think it would be, as opposed to trying it out and seeing what it's actually like. Let me give it a shot, dude. Let me give it the old Gandhi 30-day try before I. There's that story about Gandhi. I'll go into this real quick. There's that story about Gandhi. Someone goes to Gandhi, a mom with a little child. She says, "Can you tell my son to stop eating sugar?" And he says, "Come back in 30 days. 30 days later, mom and that little candy-eating boy show up. And Gandhi says to that little boy, "Stop eating sugar." And the mom says, "Why did you wait 30 days to do that?" He's like, "Well, I had to figure out, I had to see if I could do it first before I told him." So let me try that. Let me see what's that. Yo, Pierre, you want to come out real quick? Because funnily enough, like from a place of stasis, you can see what you want to do. You can see what you'd like to do. Toro y Moi said it best. He said, I think he said this in that song Freelance. He said, "There's always gonna be pressure for me. Oh, walk on the water for me." Just look at Gaga. She's the creative director of Polaroid. I like some of the Gaga songs. What the fuck does she know about cameras? All right, so we're just one iota closer. One. You know, in this moment in time, we're taking the journey of the visionary. And this is why people love goals so much. Because when you have goals, your mind just shuts the up. It's like, nice. Remember, everybody, your thoughts will paint your experience. You know, back in my philosophy class, they would, one of those huge sort of like things that they'd say, you're not your thoughts. That may or may not be true, but experientially, like if I have some shitty thoughts, like it does affect my mood. And I start feeling like a kind of pain. If I went to a doctor, they'd say, you're going to feel some discomfort. You're going to feel some pressure. Probably use those words. You know, a lot of people want things very fast. Something that I tend to notice would be like everything is made for the sort of scroll nature of social media. Like everything needs to be within the first 2 seconds. If it's not, if it doesn't come out in 2 seconds, I don't want it. And so everybody tries to reverse engineer the entire universe in 3 seconds. Here's my favorite song. Let me play it for you in 8 seconds. Are you enlightened now? You'll find this, like self-help especially. Like this is the sort of sector that I self-help, whether it's self-help or art, philosophy, psychology, human behavior, nature of the mind, mind, body, spirit, being courageous, public speaking. These sort of circles in the flower of life area. You find people will do the Hansel and Gretel thing. They'll want to leave breadcrumbs behind. You know, how to get enlightened. Here's how I became enlightened. First, what you want to do is you want to be mindful. You know, and they'll be outside recording themselves, and it's like, Like it's in like the whole message comes across to me like it's something that you hear, but it's in a vacuum. Like it's something that sounds great. Maybe you might be able to sort of apply it over your life like a temporary tattoo sometimes, but that when you need it in that future moment, it's like something that you want to try and remember, like some kind of spiritual life raft, inflatable spiritual life vest. You could just pull the string. Oh, what's that mantra again? Peace, love, positivity. Serve, love, serve, remember. What is it again? Shit. I remember the first one of those that I made. Dude. I just dropped LSD at the time, or like mushrooms or something like that. Just a wicked dose. It's probably mushrooms. Just like a 4-gram mushroom trip, bro. Solo dolo. No trip sitter, no nothing. Just took my dogs for a walk. Went outside, walked the golf course. You know, I did that before the sun was coming up. Hit the sunrise. It was nice. Sort of go through my day. I'm on the green. I'm thinking, oh yeah, dude, I've got a message to spread to the world. I whip out my phone, selfie mode, start recording, and I say, "This is the best. This is the best. Just live your life, okay?" I would like to think that I'm less harsh. I'd like to think that I'm the right amount of harshness. But, I also recognize that for a long time, this sort of thing that is like a little piece of debris that has stuck itself to the bottom of my sock, or like soul debris that I've picked up and just kept like lint in my pocket or something like that. Ever since I can remember, I would always want to rush things or cram things. Like when I was in elementary school, and all throughout school, really, like any piece of paper that I would write on, I would write really small, beyond the margins. Just let me fit it in one page. I learned the term the other day. I remembered the term the other day. The term is bashful. Here. I've been practicing this, I don't want to be pretentious and call it a technique, but what word do I use? 2 words. 3 words, I'll say Sam Harris approach. I once heard saw one of those, whether it be a reel or a vine or a story or a short form content. It was from a dude who was outside. It says, never trust an inside thought. He was eating a fruit. Never trust an inside thought. Inside thoughts, I don't trust them. This was an outside thinker. This was an outside thinking guy. Hey, you know, when I gotta go to the bathroom, how long? I bring about my own issues. I mean, I see what my next move is. I see what my next move is. I see the move that I'd like to do. And then I see another move that I could do. Move 3 entered the chat. It's like the most mild form of discomfort you could possibly feel. And yet, in your heart of hearts, it's not a matter of if, it's when. So at that point, it's like, what do you do then? All right, what timelines are we looking at now? Am I talking about going pee? Am I talking about death itself? What it is I want to do, spend my time with? What I want to do is I want to put words to it, to Englishify it. So how about we play the tape out? Let's turn this thought experiment into a scientific definition of what work means. They say when you move one object across space, that's scientific definition of work. So how about we put some work in right here? Let's see what. How about we just Nike. 3, 2, 1, jump. Bob Ross in this bitch, he's like happy accidents. Okay, big tree, big moment. This is your world. In your world, you could do anything in your world. All right, next big moment. Wash hands or not wash hands? All right, I'm not eating food right now. I'm at the crib. Dude, the only place I'd wash my hands is if there was somebody else that was washing their hands too. Or I didn't care at that point, and I was completely detached and free as a bird, free as an air nomad, free as the Avatar. Feelings check. You know, when, how do you choose? Follow the thoughts? Follow the emotion? Alan Watts said, if somebody was going to come in here and give a demonstration of what Zen is, he would just come in here, sit inside for like 5 minutes, say nothing, and then just get up and walk out. He said, but I'm going to do it a little different. I'm going to talk about it. Bing. Says, this is not reality. This is... I don't know what kind of experiences y'all went through. What I have seen, experienced, is that we could do two things. Maybe three things. We could tune in, follow along. We could turn it off and observe, continue watching, remain more or less detached, and expand outwards. So think of it like blackjack. You can hold them, you can fold them, or you could do that other, I can't remember what the third move is, but you could do that one too. Or you can hit him with the fourth one. You could just get up and stop playing that game. You don't have to play blackjack. We don't gotta gamble. So, I'm definitely a person for Irish goodbyes. Just kind of, getting up and just walking out. Not saying, see ya, bye guys, y'all, see ya dude, see you tomorrow. I'm really just more of a, slip out, enter quietly, slip out kind of dude. I'm a slip out kind of dude. Bob and weave, slip out, slip the punch. Irish goodbye that hoe. But, for formality's sake, I'm going to put a conclusion to this and say, everybody, thank you so much for the time. It has been amazing. Right now, I can feel my kidneys firing on blast, like they need some water or something like that. I've probably got high blood sugar, ketones all in me, because I've been fasting today. So, I'm about to break this fast, give some insulin, and, I'll see you in the next one.